This the kind of beat that go. This the kind of beat that go. This the kind of beat that go. Rock, top, top.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Petty Headquarter. So, of course, we have your weekly dose of mess. But before that, let's get into these little introductions. I'm your host, Tiana Locke, and you are
Jessie Strange,
my lovely co-host, Jessie Strange. And yes, so today we are going to be talking about and recapping Caresha Please, or should I say Caresha Speaks. Her, I guess, that episode of season 2, the intro to season 2 of Caresha Please, where she is finally telling her truth about everything. All of the things that people want to know. But before we get into that, if you are new here, welcome. Okay. We are a pop culture podcast. If you don't know, we cover things like, trending topics, celebrity drama, as well as Zeus Network, mostly baddies. Okay. When we say reality TV, it's mostly baddies. That's what the people love to see. That's what you want to see. So yeah, welcome if you're new here. Also, we are a podcast too. I know people love to see the visual versions, but we are available on audio exclusively as well. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Amazon, wherever you listen to your podcast on, we are there as well.
Yeah. So if you like what you hear, definitely share it with your friends and, hit the like button, rate us on all those platforms. If you do,
leave a review. A review. I know you guys love to leave comments on the YouTube channel, so leave a review as well. And shout out to the people that, came to the new YouTube channel to subscribe. Appreciate y'all.
No, for real. We appreciate y'all. We read every comment.
For real.
We really appreciate the support.
No, for
it's
real.
Nice.
So yes, thank you for that. Shout out to y'all. So now going into this whole thing.
Yeah, so I do want to make it clear. We are recording this August 11th. This just came out. Okay.
Right.
So if things, and this episode probably won't come out for another 2 weeks. So just so you know, just in case anything comes out before.
Right.
But I'm really excited to really dive into it because I know me and you both had our shared opinions on
for sure
before Caresha came out and
for sure
spoke her truth. So
for sure.
Very
and
excited.
I definitely have some questions. But yes, let us get into this episode of Caresha Please, or as Saucy Santana like to say, Caresha Speaks. Which I love when he said that. I was like, ooh, I felt that.
that was nice.
That was good. I was
He
like,
ate
okay,
that.
word. He ate.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, word play. All right, so let us get into it. So it's a 33-minute episode, and from jump, it just starts off hot.
Yeah, before we even get into the whole thing, they built it up to be like it was going to be, an all-exposed type thing.
Right.
And I thought it was interesting that it'll, you expect something to, when something is deep, it's going to be long.
Yeah.
I saw 33 minutes and I was like, oh, we're probably not getting shit.
Yeah, and I saw that too. Like, even when we first saw like the promo videos circulating on social media where I guess they showed certain clips, I immediately was like, oh, she not going to say nothing.
Really? You had a feeling?
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Okay.
I've been said that. Like, when I saw it, I was like, is she going to say anything?
Yeah. Okay.
She's not going to say anything. and then the fact that it's still on Revolt, which is owned by Diddy, those were some of the alarming things that I noticed. Like, okay.
He did step down, though, but
Right. There are loopholes to
for
these
sure,
things,
for sure.
So we don't really know the specifics. And I feel like I already went into this knowing that we're not going to get much. We'll get a little, but we won't get a lot.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Caresha, aka Young Miami, used to date Diddy and was like the Bonnie to Clyde,
or so people like to claim.
Right. That was the last girlfriend he had before this whole thing went down, and she's been silent ever since. People have been wanting to hear her side of the story, or just anything really, wanted to hear her speak. And she finally came out on her podcast platform, on her show, on Revolt, and this is what we're talking about.
Right. And also Young Miami used to be a part of a girl group called the City Girls, which she was rapping alongside JT. They both came up together. And I guess that group is no longer a thing. They drifted apart. And I guess she touches on that a little bit too, where we do find out some new information, but nothing that alarming. And I do have some stuff to say about that too, because I guess there's always a side to each story. And not gonna lie, hers, certain parts felt a little hypocritical, or I don't know, whatever. Yeah. So let us get right into it.
Now let's open up the notes here.
Right. I have to take my notes. All right. So off the bat, Saucy Santana asked her about her mental health.
Yeah, which I think is a great way to, I guess, open the gates. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the way he handled it, I mean, that is her best friend.
Right.
So of course, he asked the questions that everyone wanted to know, but of course he still handled it with grace and everything. And, he was always supportive, and you can sense that throughout the interview. Like, there was even a point where he cried himself. So I was like, okay, this is cute. But, he starts off by saying that, how's your mental health? And she gets emotional when she mentions the word breakup and divorce.
Oh, okay.
So before it even got to that question where Saucy had asked her if she's still dating Diddy, I immediately knew, okay, you guys aren't dating anymore, because you are already talking about hardships in life. And as soon as she mentioned the word breakup and divorce, immediately her eyes get watery, she's teary-eyed. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you guys broke up.
That's it. Okay, so you peeped from the beginning.
I peeped from the beginning. I feel like I was really two-piecing it. I was two-piecing it. And another thing that she does put emphasis on is, she does mention that, in quotes, I didn't come this far for nothing. So she clearly is the type that she has this personality of, yeah, this is hard. I'm going through it. My mental health isn't good, but I'm going to keep pushing through. She feels like, she put in the work, especially for City Girls when JT was locked up. In the beginning, when JT was locked up and she was out, pregnant and all, really putting in the work for City Girls and really pushed it. So when JT did come out of jail, they were able to come together and really do this whole thing. So that's where she feels like, she put in all this work. She got to where she got to. And of course, she wants more, right? So she wants to push through for her and her kids. And, that's always the narrative for herself as well, because what the fuck? I'm not going to let you people,
Right. Which rightfully so.
Right.
Sure.
So at some point, she does talk about also saying, and she's breezing through this, by the way. She's breezing. She's not saying anything. She's not saying anything, but I'm picking out certain words that she said where I feel like, tells
you without telling
exactly you. When she started crying over when she said the word breakup in the beginning, and then when she mentions, we got to learn from our mistakes. So she doesn't say anything about what those mistakes are, but I was wondering, are you referring to Diddy when you said learn from your mistakes? So I'm really picking at every single word that she's saying. And then she also mentioned that no one checked on her when this was going on.
Yeah, she did. Which, I mean, what am I to say to that, right? Because, you don't
care. She said she was like, no one checked on me. It felt like it was more of an aha moment, aha. Right. You really thought, you thought you was the shit. You thought you got it, and then you wasn't. So
yeah, I did hear that she said that. But my thing is that I empathize with that, because when you are in those moments, that's when you see who your real friends are, right? That's when you see who's really by you, who doesn't let the internet dictate your friendships. And I can understand from an empathetic perspective of you're in this situation, and this is, you're in this situation and you kind of get caught up in it, right? Just because of the person you're dating. And so I can see how people you thought would check in on you allow themselves to kind of distance themselves. But at the end of the day, right, I think it's more of a business thing than a personal thing. And that's not to say anything, because I don't know what it's like to be Young Miami in her position. I think it's a very tough position to be in. But at the end of the day, we've all seen the video footage of Cassie. And it's kind of weird that she never really acknowledges that and never really questioned Diddy's character despite everything, despite that, and then wants to feel some type of way when people aren't checking in on her, when I'm pretty sure it was no secret of who he was in the industry, right? And so that's one part. And then part two is to address the people who are saying, aha. I feel like, and I don't really know, this is just kind of looking from the outside in. I knew about the City Girls, but I didn't know much about their beef and what happened between them. I do know, however, that, you know, at some point JT was locked up, and maybe the aha moment wasn't, maybe she called for it because of the way she was acting. Maybe she met Diddy, started thinking she was above people. Look at the tweet she did with Gina Hyung, whatever. Okay. You know what I'm saying? She weaponized Diddy in her tweets. And if you don't know what tweets I'm referring to, she had tweeted towards Gina, who is Diddy's other girlfriend or whatever. I don't even know.
From the past.
Yeah, they were messing with each other, and then, you know, they were fighting over Diddy. And Young Miami tweeted to her saying, "Bitch, you're a munch. If I wanted you to eat my Diddy would have had you on your knees, ho.
Right.
You are an eater."
Right.
And so the thing is like, if you didn't know Diddy, it's almost like you already know Diddy's power and you're weaponizing it, and you're using it as a threat. But then you have the audacity to come on here and almost act like you're an entire victim. Like, you're so surprised that people were laughing at you, but you're acting like this online.
And another tweet that I also want to bring up is that, you know, she claims to say all this stuff like, oh, it was like a aha moment, but you were also the first one to, I guess, clap back at haters online saying that you don't gotta rap. You see the life that you live in? She said, so I said, in quotes, "Whole rap for what? This pay the bills. Cause y'all always saying I can't rap, but I ain't gotta rap though. Life is great. Bitch, do you see how I'm living? I ain't never said I was no lyricist either. LMAO."
Yeah, and then you see tweets like that, and then you're so surprised that people are laughing at you when you were up.
Right.
You were laughing at other people.
Yeah.
And flaunting it. And that's life. That's how the universe works, yo. It don't matter what you believe in. That's how the universe works. When you have that trip, that ego trip, there's always, it's crazy how life will teach you those lessons, that life can change in a matter of a second.
Right. And I feel like, you know, there's another thing that I want to touch on that she said. She feels like she initially didn't go into this dating relationship with him for only business, which I don't know. She said that they did end up like falling in love, and it was a relationship that they really were dating and serious about each other. But also she does mention that, you know, Diddy was on brand for her.
Right.
He was on brand. And, you know, she said that he didn't make her brand, but he was on brand for her. And she says that, you know, when she met him, he was in a new era. Right. And she's basically saying that not everyone else's experience is going to be the same as hers. So she's saying that because I didn't experience that, I can't speak on it, which to me, honestly, just felt like a bold-faced lie. But, you know, we're going to get into why I think that. I just want to talk about the stuff that she says. So another thing that she does mention is talking about, you know, the times when she was celebrating, you know, his wins and celebrating with him. And of course, she feels like the world tried to crucify her for doing that. But it's like, you're telling me, like you said before, you're telling me you had no idea. And then even with that lawsuit that came out with one of the other producer that has like a whole, what was it, like a whole 81 pages,
something like that,
of like detailed information
where her cousin,
were
part of like,
so that there was
essaying him.
Right. And there was no question asked about that.
Right.
And of course, it makes sense that Saucy Santana would be the one asking these questions because, of course, it's going to be biased. That is your best friend. Yes, he's asking the questions that people want to know, but he's also not really pressing you either, I guess, because he knows that this is a sensitive topic for you. But
I think it's deeper than that, to be honest. I think it's more that he knows that it's a sensitive topic. I think it's a legal topic on top of that. That's 2. 3, she cannot move forward. This was a necessary video, whether she liked it or not, for her to do, because in order to continue her show, Revolt and her need to address the elephant in the room. Right. And that's just how business and marketing works. People will not. more likely take you in if you humanize yourself a little. You allow people, you say a whole lot of nothing, because that's really what it was.
Right, that's really what it
was. A whole lot
was.
of nothing. But you give people, quote unquote, what they asked for, and then you can move on with your show.
Right.
But she wants to talk about how her and Diddy were in business together. He played his part. She played her part. But it's interesting how she still used his name as marketing for this show. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Were you in love, or is this a business?
Right, because she mentions all the things that, he saw something in her. He made her the brand ambassador for the De Leon tequila. Like, she mentioned he
made her feel gentle.
He made her in her gentle said,
era.
You have such a big personality. Why don't you do podcast? You ask good questions. And of course, he's the one that gave her Caresha Please. So I just feel like, she even mentions, after him, she was like on Vogue. She was at the Met Gala. Like, let's be real. Like, I'm sure you ended up falling in love, but I'm pretty sure you in this dating thing with Diddy was primarily business related.
Yeah.
So
she
let's
raps
be real.
about stuff like that.
She
right?
raps about
that was
it.
the City Girls, right?
Right. And that's what she said to him. Like, why you want to date me? Like, you know what I rap about. Like, you know what I'm about. Why you want to, date a city girl? So it's very telling that I'm sure she did not go into it thinking, oh my God, we could really be in love.
But that's how all these women did. Right?
But she likes to make herself, I guess, seem different because she's not
Right.
only buying Chanel bags or going on a trip.
And that's my
she's
problem.
elevating and wants to be bigger and better, but it's still essentially the same thing.
And that's the thing is nobody goes into an abusive relationship saying, yeah, I can't wait to be abused by this guy. Of course they're going to go in as maybe look at all the victim stories. They all start the same.
Yeah.
Diddy promised them a spot in the industry. No matter what they were into,
Right.
he promised them a spot in. And guess what he did? He got them close, dangled it in front of their faces, and then abused them in the meantime. And then that's how it was. That's the abuse, cycle of abuse. Just because, I don't know. I don't buy the bullshit.
You feel like she experienced something and she's saying she didn't experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know why I say that too is because when Saucy asked her, did he hit you? She did not answer it directly. She did not say yes or no. What she did say was, she said that she simply would not put herself in that situation again. And she was in two domestic violence relationships before, and she would not put herself through that again. She did not say yes or no. And honestly, I kind of do wish Saucy would have pressed her a little bit, yes or no. Did he hit you? Because that whatever you're saying is not answering the question.
It's true.
And I feel like because she answered it like that, I don't really know what the answer is. And she left it up for, I guess, the audience to kind of figure that out. She left it in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there was a dead giveaway that I don't really know if I trust your answer, because a lot of the times, people that have been in abusive relationships always end up back in abusive relationships. So I don't think that you're telling the truth. I really don't.
That part is where I want to address, because she said it as if it's like, look at my record. I have 2 before and I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
But when you really understand the psychology of abuse, you understand that that's kind of what you're familiar and comfortable with. So just because maybe they didn't treat you as bad as the last abuser doesn't mean that they're not abusing you. But again, there's levels to this shit. And this is all allegedly. This is all from our perspective and how we pick it up, right? How we're interpreting it. But a lot of the things that people don't say says a lot. And I just don't think that, even if I want to give the benefit of the doubt that, that maybe she's telling the truth, right? But it's hard when you look at all these other factors that come into it to really take that. And I don't think it's bad to question it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I always want to remember that Young Miami is just another person. And sometimes I can't imagine, again, if she's telling the truth, let's just say in a world she's telling the truth. I can imagine telling my truth and then people not believing me. But then there's all these other things that are questionable, where it's just kind of like, you can't be mad at people questioning you because of everything else that goes on. You know what I mean?
Right. All right. So, yeah, with that being said, I feel like I agree with everything. I feel like we're on the same page. I honestly don't really buy her story in regards to, oh, I won't put myself through that again, because we know how it goes with people that end up in abusive relationships back to back to back. That's just something that I don't know. It just keeps happening, unfortunately. So, one thing that struck me was that they only spoke about Diddy for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Literally only 10 minutes and 45 seconds into the episode. I was like, oh my God, I already knew that they weren't going to talk about anything. Like, I
Right.
knew we were going to get a shitload of nothing and we weren't going to get any answers. So I don't know. But I get it. Like you said, it's one of those things for legalities and also like, marketing and moving forward with your own stuff, which she does mention that, season 2 of Caresha Please and, what is it? Caresha Roulette.
Caresha Roulette.
Risha Roulette. That's what it's
Risha
called.
Roulette?
Risha Roulette.
Yeah.
And her little card game
Looked like
coming
a cool
out.
game.
Right, it looked cool. And then her reality TV show is coming out. So I'm just like, wow, you have so much that, going for yourself. And of course, if you're business oriented and that's how you're thinking, you're not going to tell the truth about what's going on.
No.
I mean, you can't for the sake of your career.
Exactly. And what I thought was interesting was when she mentioned how when she went into this relationship with Diddy that she wanted to become a quote unquote
Mogul like him.
Yes, mogul,
Yup.
instead of just asking for private jets and purses.
Right.
And I wanted to touch on this in particular because the fact that she chose to say that almost kind of felt like she projected what she used to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she raps about. So she probably back, when she was like, it's kind
tricking
of
and shit.
Right. It's kind of a for the lack of better terms, poor mentality or hood mentality. Is that appropriate
Which is
to say?
what she has.
Is that
Like,
appropriate to say?
I mean, that's what she has.
Okay.
That's where she's coming from.
And
You're coming from that hood mentality.
Right. And I want to, I'm being respectful, but we can say what it is, right? So this is like from a hood mentality where you're, only asking for materialistic things. She's been in 2 previous abusive relationships, and I'm sure they had money, right? Because that's what a city girl. I mean, I don't know. This is all speculation, but why I say this is this.
JT already said this. Like, Young Miami always been with the ballers. She always been with this, the
Right.
girls that have money. Like,
right. So that's just probably why she gets into these kinds of relationships to begin with. However, right, I feel like this is her way of projecting because she probably did that prior where she would only be with these people for money and for purses and, simple-minded. And now that she had met Diddy, maybe a little inspired by him, which again shows the power dynamic already.
Right.
And, she looked up to him clearly enough to want to be a mogul. Because she also mentioned how when she was with him, he inspired her. She thought about, getting a manager, a business manager. And in my head, I'm like, was that not one of the first things you did? Right? And it made me question, like, why was that a thing you only thought about when you were with Diddy? When you were already city girls. Like, you weren't thinking about a business manager?
No education. That's the thing.
Right,
The lack of the education. You're quick to just idolize this lifestyle and go in the rap game. And JT and her talk about this. Where they come from, the only thing they could do is be a rapper because they want a certain lifestyle. You can't do nothing else, especially with not having access to certain things. And JT and her speak about this. So I feel like, of course, they didn't think about that before.
Right.
She only thought about it when she met Diddy.
And now, right. And then you have JT, on the other hand, who's in jail.
And then she's learning,
right.
too.
So do you think that maybe this distance between JT and Caresha
Well, this
or
was
Young
in the
Miami,
beginning, though, when JT was in jail. This was the very beginning,
right,
before she even met Diddy.
Right. No, I know that. But what I'm saying is now having your presumptions on who JT, she's still in that lifestyle. You meet this billionaire who's going to put you on. He wants to make you a mogul because he's feeding up your head. And then you start to believe it. And do you think that because of the way these tweets go, she looks like she talks down to women? So do you think that maybe what happened between JT and Caresha is the fact that when she was hanging around Diddy, she started to feel like maybe she was above JT? Because she also mentioned how City Girls wasn't making no money.
Yeah.
She had to do her own thing. She had to
Yeah.
start doing like, this and that.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I want to touch on, because I think I found it so funny that she was so quick to say that City Girls wasn't making no money, but were you putting in the work to promote the album? Were you putting in the work to do creative marketing? Like, were you doing that? You weren't. You were hanging out with Diddy. And that's what JT insinuated. She didn't want to say that, but she insinuated that multiple times when y'all went on the Breakfast Club, and when she talked about it too. She insinuated that so many times. But, we could sit here and act like, I that's one of the things that I didn't like that she said, because, it takes two, and it was both of y'all. It's not just JT. Look how good JT's doing now that she's solo. Like, let's be real. JT is putting in that work with her tours, with her concerts, with, engaging with the audience, and just like, even like the new song that she did, like JT Coming, how it sounds like that song from You Got Served, Breathe In, Breathe Out.
Yeah.
And how she invited some of the dancers from You Got Served in her music video. Like, she's really doing that. Like, she's really putting in the work, and that's her and her team. She's working with her team, which is what she wanted to do at City Girls, but you weren't doing that.
Yeah.
You weren't as passionate as her because you had Diddy. And that's what it showed. Whether you wanted to say, yeah, that's what it was or not, that's what it showed. Instead of really being with JT, marketing and working on your album, you were with Diddy. She was working on the album. She was doing a lot of things on her own. She was posting about it. You posted about it, but you weren't really doing the heavy lifting as much as JT. So it kind of annoyed me when she was like, it wasn't making no money. Were you putting in the work?
Right.
Question mark. Were you putting in the work? Like, I don't know. From what I saw, I didn't see you putting in much work, but
And to be honest with you, like I said, we like to look at things. We don't know these people personally, but when you're capable as a person to tweet these nasty, vile things to other people, I feel like that says a lot about you. And if you can look down on people and say, if I wanted to get you on your knees,
Diddy would have you on your knees,
yeah,
bitch. Like, if I wanted you to do that, he would have had, like, the power he had.
So you see that attitude? That attitude just doesn't disappear momentarily.
But then you want to sit there and say, well, I don't know those experiences. I didn't experience him that way, or I've never seen that, so I can't speak on it. You sure you haven't seen it? Because in those tweets, you seem very positive that he would have the bitch on her knees if you asked.
And it's sad to see, that... I mean, she's really, from what I gather, it doesn't feel like she's really a girl's girl. Because, and I say that because not only if my partner, don't matter if it never happened to me, but if my partner came out with a video of somebody abusing somebody, another woman.
Yeah.
I don't care if you didn't show it to me.
Yeah.
The fact that you're even capable, I'm embarrassed to be next to you. But she didn't care. She didn't even acknowledge the fact that Cassie, she just kept saying, it didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't acknowledge the fact that you saw that video and that there was a victim that we all have seen.
And this is why I feel like Young Miami, you were groomed. I'm sorry. I know she's not young to be like groomed. I know she's not underage, but I feel like she, in the moment when she met Diddy, she was still very impressionable. She was with City Girls and still didn't have that much knowledge about business. You didn't have a business manager. You didn't really, I don't know. I guess you and JT didn't really know certain things. When you met Diddy, he introduced you to all these things. You learned all these new things. You wanted to be like him. You were inspired by him. So I just feel like there's a little bit of like, I don't know, grooming or manipulation there a little bit.
So you think she's a victim?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't even say yes or no. I don't know how to answer that question, but I do feel like there's something there. Diddy is like, 54 and she's 30. Like, there's a big age gap.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's one of those things when I've seen this time and time and time again with females that act like that. They don't care the wrong things that those guys did. If they love them, they love them. If it didn't happen to them, they don't care.
If they changed their life, they love them. Look at Krishan.
Exactly.
Look at Krishan.
Exactly.
Look at her loyalty to Blueface despite all the horrible things he does.
Yeah. And I feel like it's the same thing with Young Miami.
Because he put her on.
Right. Literally
the same thing.
Right. It's the same thing.
So
very impressionable.
So while I was listening to this, all I could think was, before we got on this episode today, me and Tiana have had extensive conversations on Caresha Young Miami's role in their relationship. And I feel like it was easy to see her as being like the Ghislaine Maxwell, the one that really participated in it. And even in the lawsuit, it says that she participated in all these evil, like on all the things that he did. And I was really adamant about, hey, maybe she is a victim. Like, this is what happens in abusive relationships. Look at Cassie. She never thought she would be in that type of relationship. Look at Kim Porter. What is rumored? You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure no one ever willingly goes into these things, by choice. And I really want to believe that Caresha is a victim to Diddy's power and everything that he can promise her. I feel like, she really stood by him. And when she was answering these questions, man, it was really hard to still really believe that she was a victim. And I want to give the benefit of the doubt, because sometimes, and we've seen this like with Krishan, even though Krishan continues at this point to make her bed, she still kind of is a victim of an abusive relationship. And I feel like maybe, Young Miami hasn't realized that yet. We are still watching her maybe not realize it because of still the opportunities that he's bringing her, despite them being broken up. AKA, she still has Caresha Please on Revolt TV.
Right.
What
Which
else
is the biggest thing?
What else is he, washing his money under? Because, he's losing money.
Right.
So where else is he hiding his money? So I just feel like she's protecting him.
I feel like she is too.
Which is sad.
Yeah. I mean, she's in love with him. Why do you think she got so teary-eyed? The moment she got so teary-eyed when talking about breakups, I knew from then and there. I was like, oh my God, you are in love with this man. And it is what it is. I don't know the relationship. I'm not in there, but she's one of those girls, that is going to protect a terrible man. And that's just what it is. Those females, they act like that. Love is love, right? Love is stronger than any type of logic. So if they love them, they don't care what they did. Mm-hmm. They just know that they love them, and that's that. They don't care if they killed people. They don't care if they abuse people, because they know that they just love them, and, they're bringing them so much opportunities, and that's all that matters. Yeah. And that's clearly all that matters to Young Miami. I know me personally, I wouldn't be able to do it. If I would not be. First of all, I would already peep that type of energy.
Yeah, I don't think it even gets to that point.
It don't even get to that point, because I just have more self-love for myself. And that's one of the things that you see in those females. They don't love themselves. They need that validation. They need someone to see them. They need someone to see them for them to feel like, oh my gosh, this guy is the one. He sees me. And that's how they get like lost in that shit. Mm-hmm. Then when those guys start acting abusive, oh, it doesn't matter because he saw me. You're dumb.
You know what I find interesting about this, though, because she mentions at the end of the interview that people love to bring you up just to tear you down. And I think it's an interesting thing that she said that, because she's kind of right. That same attitude that got her into that unfortunate abusive relationship with Diddy is the same attitude that made her money as a city girl. That was her brand. That's where she grew up. That's how she knew how to, that was her shit. And now that it kind of backfired and shot her in the foot, people are bringing her down and not supporting her anymore. And it is kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because we do glorify, look at Kurt Cobain. We glorified his depression. Look at Mac Miller. We glorified his drug addiction. We glorify these behaviors, and they make money off of it. Money's the root of the root of all evil. So you're doing it more and more. And then we're shocked when Mac Miller's dead, when JT is, we're shocked when Young Miami is in an abusive relationship. We're shocked that Krishan, is in jail for God knows how long, and her baby's in the system. We're so shocked, but it's but we were feeding into it when it was hot.
Yeah.
So she's not wrong when she says that. And it's something that she's gonna have to learn how to maneuver in the industry, because that's what it is, unfortunately. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you have a point when you say that. And I just want to say that I understand Young Miami's stance when it comes to talking about how the internet works, how the media works, how people just like eat you up to the point where, you go into a really depressive state and then you feel like you lose your personality because you don't even want to show the world your personality anymore at that point. And that part I understood, and I sympathize with her on that, because I understand like that could be very daunting on the mental health, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you do or say. Once you're a public figure, like that's just gonna happen. You could be doing good shit and people will still talk shit about you. You could be doing bad shit. Either you'll have people that praise you for doing bad shit because for some reason society loves predators and they hate victims. For some reason, that's just the fucking way that this world works, but whatever, it's weird. So, I understand her on that, and I definitely sympathize with her on that part. But, at the end of the day, when we see like discrepancies and we see little things that just kind of don't add up, we are going to clock it. It was good that Saucy was there for you. That was cute. That was nice. But, we have to clock it at the end of the day. This is just what it is.
Especially if you were participating in those bad things, which there's a lawsuit that it doesn't mean anything, the lawsuit, but there's allegations out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Right. So another thing that, that she does mention when they start talking about JT is saying that, JT started working on her own and she didn't know. She didn't know that JT was working on her own music. She didn't know. And, she also mentioned one of the key things that I was surprised about. The Freaky Girl song that Nicki Minaj did. She wasn't invited. JT was invited. Nicki Minaj asked JT, not Young Miami, which I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. Yeah, I had no idea. That was like my first time finding out about that. And I know that sometimes the City Girls would be asked like, separately from different people, and it was never anything serious. But usually there was at one point they would move as a unit, but now it was like, whoa, like I noticed that JT was doing things on her own. And yeah, when she did hop on that remix, the Freaky Girl remix with Nicki Minaj, yeah, that was like a big deal. And I was like, oh, JT, good for you.
Was it just me, or did her tone change when talking about JT?
What do you mean?
Like the energy shifted, almost like she was ready talking. No, she was like ready. She was like more of this soft defending my man with Diddy. And then when it came to JT, she's kind of like, this is what it is. She was doing this, and I never want to talk about it again. I said what I said. That was her energy. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking
No,
it.
you weren't. That was her energy, because she did say like, I'm tired of talking about this. I don't want to talk about this again. So let's clear this shit up now here. Yeah. And then that's it. But yeah, she does mention all of those things about JT, and she mentions that, they are still like cool, but it's one of those things where from afar, right? Like they're cool, but they're not that. It's not the same. So they don't talk like that, and it's just done. I find it very hard to. I find it very hard to, I guess, believe her when talking about JT, because I know damn well when friendship breakups happen like that, it's not just one-sided. For sure. You're not going to sit here and make it seem like it was all JT or you had nothing to do. Like, at least own up to like, yeah, maybe there were certain things I could have done better, or maybe that there was something I did that she didn't like. She did not own up to that at all.
Didn't even acknowledge
possibility of it. And JT's been saying this, and she's been alluding to it too, because she's still like such a good friend that she doesn't want to even air your shit out. You don't even want to air your shit out, but she's alluded to many times where you blew her off or blew work off for your man, so it's just, or you just want to party all the time. JT doesn't always want to party, and they talk about this when JT and Saucy Santana and Caresha are on an episode of Caresha Please together. They do talk about this, where JT is mentioning how, Caresha, she likes to party, she likes to do this. I don't like to do that. Like, I like to do this, I like to be home, or sometimes I like to work on this. Like, she just wants to be outside, like, and we're just two different people. And like, at the end of the day, yes, they had their differences also when it came to work ethic and music, and like, I guess, wanting the same things, which Young Miami does touch on a little bit, saying that they weren't connecting anymore, which I could see that. It seems like you two have very different goals. Right. And it just, you guys weren't aligned with each other anymore. Before it was just like, yeah, we want to make money together. Right. Rap. But I feel like JT's always been serious about rapping. Look at Caresha's tweet. I don't need a rap. I never said I was a lyricist.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's just very telling that you did not have the same passion and drive as JT when it comes to rapping. Because, listen, we can all say the City Girls are amazing. I feel like they needed each other.
Yeah.
But JT's the better rapper.
You always said that.
I always said that JT's the better rapper. Young Miami's great on the hook, but JT's the better rapper, hands down.
And you know what? Shout out to Joe Budden. Joe Budden went on his podcast, and a lot of people like to shit on him for, you know, being a retired rapper. They like to discredit him a lot, but what he does do is he clocks a lot of shit, yo. With Drake, he called that shit out before anybody else, and he got backlash for it.
Yeah.
And so anyways, he went on to his podcast to kind of address this interview as well. And it's nice to see that Joe Budden, who has interviewed JT, who is in the industry, who knows people very close, is speaking out and called Caresha out on her bullshit. And he doesn't know why she's protecting Diddy, and he spoke out on it, and I appreciate that, because I'm pretty sure, look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z's not talking about it, will never address it, stuff like that. So there's a lot of people in the industry that know that it will hurt to even address Diddy in general. So it's nice to see that there are people in the industry who speak up with a powerful platform at that.
Right. And one of the things that I do want to clock too was that, you know, she also mentioned right after that, she mentioned that Nicki Minaj only called JT. She also mentioned, I guess they started talking about the beef between JT and Cardi over that song on Twitter. Right. And, you know, Saucy was asking, like, why didn't you defend JT? A lot of people were wondering, why didn't you defend? And she felt like she didn't need to because she wasn't a part of the song.
Right.
And honestly, that felt a little petty when she said that. It felt like she was just being petty. Like, did you feel some type of way that you weren't on the song with Queen Nicki Minaj? Because she said the Queen didn't call me. You know, like, so did you not defend your friend because you weren't called for the song? It just felt weird. So that's why she felt like I just stayed out of it. I wasn't even on the song. But like, that's your best friend. Right. That's supposed to be your friend. Saucy would have done it for you. Right. He has. He
Look what he did with
himself,
Academics.
Right. He involved himself so many times into, like, you know, whatever beef other people had with you. Even when JT and you were arguing online through tweets back and forth, he involved himself too. So I just feel like, you know, now you feel like, oh, it had nothing to do with me. But if that's your friend, right, you call her like your sister, it should have everything to do with you. But, you know, that's why I just feel like, you know, when it comes to her and JT's relationship, I feel like I need to clock those pieces, because you're not going to sit here and make it seem like, oh, only JT is at fault. Because it sounded like you were a little bitter when you said that. Like, oh, I wasn't on the song, so I'm not going to say nothing. Sounded a little bitter. Just saying. I wasn't buying it. That's primarily like all that I have to say about JT. Not JT, Young Miami, and this interview. Overall, it was definitely say a lot of nothing interview.
For sure.
It was
definitely
PR stunt. It's right.
It was a PR stunt.
It was a PR stunt. You were playing politics.
Yep.
You were doing what you needed to do to get your career running back on track, because it was on pause because you had to lay low for a while, right? Sure. Because this whole thing was going on, and it's still going on. But now that you see that things are quote unquote dying down a little bit, you thought, okay, this is a better time to, or maybe your team, because not you, it's a better time to do this now, and it would also be great. It would do numbers, you know, people want to know what happened, but then you didn't tell the truth and you didn't really give us anything. It'd be one thing if you were really going to tell your truth, but I guess
that's what they said. One of the guys on Joe Budden's podcast was like, okay, fine. If you're going to tell the truth, then stand on it. Right. Like, don't half-ass this. Like, she made it seem like they were going to really spill the beans.
Right.
And they did not.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like that shit. Don't try to deceive people. Like, if you really were going to do that. Like, then it would really be some legendary, monumental shit, like some Cat Williams shit. Yeah. Yo, for real.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And people would respect you more, but, you know, you didn't do that, so.
Right. Exactly. And it's just sad because I feel like when she mentioned at the end of the interview how she feels, like you mentioned before, how she feels she can't show her personality anymore. Everything on the internet is so literal, and that, you know, and Saucy reminds her, you know, you got to this point by being you, which is true. But I also feel like when she was describing that, she describes what a woman goes through, what a victim man or woman, goes through when they're in an abusive relationship. They feel lonely. They feel abandoned. They feel insecure.
Right.
They feel lost. They feel like they lost their identity. When she said she feels like she's lost in her personality, she doesn't know herself anymore, literally felt like she was describing what a victim of abuse goes through, especially when their abuser is not there. Hence why they always go back. And it's sad to see someone as beautiful as Young Miami to go it just seems like a heavily insecure woman who needs that external validation, who wants to feel like, uses all this materialistic things to validate herself.
Didn't we say like lacking self-worth?
For sure. And it's just sad because, again, you know those friends where you're like, damn, you're just so much better, but you choose this lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
you can't save them. So.
It's sad. It's just it's a sad thing to see, but we're here to just criticize it.
I guess. I mean, are we really criticizing? I guess you can say we are.
I mean, it is, but it's with anything, right? Anybody can criticize anything. Doesn't mean bad criticism. I mean, I just humanized her for you. You know what I'm saying? I just literally telling you guys, like, yes, all this may be true, but let's just, again, remember she is human, and it does get dark, and I can understand on both ends. However, again, can you really feel bad for someone like Ghislaine Maxwell? You know what I'm saying? It depends. I mean, we're just chatting here. We're just chatting.
So overall, that is pretty much it. That is how I feel about this whole situation. I know you said your piece about the whole situation already. And yeah, that's what I take from it. Tell me what you guys think. What?
I wanted to read some comments that people wrote down underneath the video that I thought was interesting. There was two perspectives that I liked.
On which video?
On the interview.
Oh, because before you do that, I did notice, because I was reading the comments on that video too. A lot of people were just eating it up and like sympathizing. And I get it. You're human. You want to sympathize, right? And she showed this more human side. I mean, she is human, right? She showed the human side. But let's really stick to the facts and let's really clock it. And I feel like not a lot of people did that in the comments.
I feel like that's controlled though. It's YouTube.
I didn't even think about
it's
that.
PR.
I didn't even think about that.
Revolt TV has definitely. I'm almost, if I'm in the PR room, right, and I'm telling you this is what you got to do, I'm also controlling the comments. That's just that's the business side of things, right? So I feel like that's why, because I started to notice an abundantly amount of positive reactions.
Yeah.
But when you go on Twitter, when you go on Instagram, you don't see that.
But on YouTube,
right?
Yeah, that's what I saw too. On
you
YouTube.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just feels like that Revolt TV, whoever's in charge of that, is controlling censoring the comments. But I wanted to read two comments. One of them said, "So you telling me that the management who made y'all a group and was managing you didn't have a sit down with you and JT and everyone cleared the air? I think this started 2.5 to 3 years ago when you started dating Diddy. Maybe JT felt insecure that you might leave, so she started strategically moving on her own, and that started the decline of everything."
Yeah, I agree with that.
I thought it was a valid perspective.
That's valid because, there was again, insinuation that, Caresha doing her own thing.
Yeah.
With the billionaire.
Yeah.
So, why wouldn't and yes, JT has her man that pays everything. He takes care of her, but she's still independent and still wants something for herself, which she also expresses as well. Like, she is passionate about rapping. She loves music. So that is just her. So I could see that being a thing. Like, JT probably, strategically was doing that to cover her ass.
Right.
You're not going to leave me fucking stranded.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Then there was another comment that said, "While I appreciate the honest moments, something about this interview is off. Miami said she bigger than rap, etc. JT said all she want to be is a rapper. Y'all both have very public relationships. I'm sure that Diddy Bop had her feeling away. On the other hand, JT was seen as lazy, chillin', etc. We watched Miami blow up. Seemingly no hate from JT. Yes, JT attitude was horrible and less friendly. The moment things got tough, we want to blame it on maturity. We never heard Miami say I'ma help put JT on because her style and business ain't right. In the end, it seems like we witnessed a snake steal and separate. Diddy was able to dangle opportunity and opulence in that girl's face, and in the end, it separated Miami from her joy, her friends, reputation, and tainted her vision. Her and JT need to make up because you need a friend that ain't going along with everything. I don't see it for Uzi either. Fame comes at a cost. You will never have it all. Caresha should have apologized to Diddy, baby mama, for making those statements and really separated herself from this mess. It seems like Diddy turned her out. The ending of this should have been an olive branch. Like, y'all go out and support my sister's project. You ain't see eye to eye, but you my sis and I love you. Miami was more upset over Diddy more than her relationship with JT.
Yeah. And it was just about promoting her stuff, and that was it. And that's why I just feel like, that's a great comment too.
Yeah, it was good. Two good comments.
Because it's true, So for her to sit there and really kind of like talk like you don't care about how your friendship ended when you know damn well it wasn't one-sided. It takes two people. So for her to act like that, it already shows me that you weren't a good friend.
Right, for sure.
You weren't a good friend, because that's how those friends act. They think they didn't do anything wrong. They think that, she was just being this and doing this and whatever.
We don't see eye to eye no more.
Right. But like that person said, Diddy was able to dangle this in front of your face. Your foundation with JT was not strong enough, especially coming into this industry. Shows me you knew nothing about the industry that you were coming into. All you cared about was money. And yeah, maybe you didn't care about private jets and Chanel bags. You wanted bigger. But at the end of the day, that's all you still cared about.
Right.
Was status and materialism. And that's what Diddy had.
And power.
Mogul. Right. Power. That's what you cared about. So I think that that's a great observation. And yeah, she did not say it at the end, let's support my sis. It was all about her.
Yeah.
And you know what? At the end of the day, JT does not need your support.
It's true.
JT is doing really great solo. And I'm honestly happy she went solo. She is better off solo. I really did enjoy the City Girls. They did have a thing going. Young Miami was great on the hook. But
Yeah, so I just wanted to shout out, give the people the voice, because I thought those were really good comments in the shit in between all the shitload of nice
positive comments.
Yeah,
right.
I caught a few of those and I was like, yeah, it's a good perspective. I might as
and
well
it's
bring
true.
it up.
Look how quick you were to just be like, oh, City Girl's not making no money, instead of figuring out a solution and talking to JT
just
like,
your
hey,
friends.
how can we make this better? Which I'm sure is what JT wanted to do, but you was too busy doing what you was doing with Diddy. Instead of sitting there saying, how can we evolve this, make this better? How can we expand? You were quick to just leave.
And that's why probably JT started maneuvering the way she did, and etc. And that's how it all ended up being what it was.
And long story short, I just feel like Diddy really came in between their relationship, and but I mean, I'm sure they had their own issues, but I really do feel like the main issue was Diddy. Let's be real.
No, for sure. But I am very curious to know what you guys think about everything we had to say. Leave your own comments. We love reading them. And maybe maybe y'all could put us onto a different perspective that maybe we didn't mention or think about here.
Right, for sure. Definitely leave those comments and thoughts of what you guys think. I know you guys are always saying some crazy things, and sometimes some things I didn't even think about, where I'm like,
yeah.
I know y'all be always having some inside scoop that we don't have. So yeah, just let us know what you think. And yes, don't forget to tune in. We drop episodes every Tuesday at 4 p.m. We are on YouTube, The Petty Headquarters. We are on Instagram, The Petty Headquarters. And of course, we are on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from.
The Petty Headquarters.
Right. So where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram. That's JESSI.strange. And where can they find you, Tiana?
You can find me on Instagram at randomania1. Like I said, you can find us on Instagram at The Petty Headquarters. And yeah, I already gave you our platform. So with that being said, this was your weekly dose of mess.
I was going to say with you, but you were fast. This is your weekly dose of mess.